So it was Jason that brought that up. Obviously, the agent today said absolutely no truth to that rumor. Is there any sort of chance that Zach Hyman does what we wished the Stars would do, takes a shave on the pay, and sticks around because, he loves the team, and I don't know why else you would do it.
I don't think he should, if I'm being honest. Like, this is just me speaking, but, all those guys got paid. He's been just as part of, as much a part of the core of this team as them. Obviously, they have the high-end skills. They put up the bigger numbers. I'm not saying he's been more valuable to the team as them, but those guys didn't take, any pay cuts. And Zach's already probably played on a deal that wasn't entirely fair for him. I think he outperformed his last contract. It was $9 million total over 4 years. Those guys got signing bonuses larger than his entire contract. And he's been a valuable member of the team. He's been a no excuses, no bullshit, no complaints member of the team. This is his one opportunity as an NHL player to really cash it. And I think that this is why this story is interesting to me, is because there's no doubt in my mind he'd prefer to stay in Toronto. I've got no small doubt that the Leafs aren't sincere in really wanting to keep him. But I do think that there's a chance that their business interests might not align, that Zach, if he gets to the open market, is getting offers of like 6 years times $6 million, or even 7 years times $6 million. Like, we're talking a lot of money. And, it's hard for any of us to put ourselves in his shoes, because I don't think anyway that we've been making the money he's been making, but he's taken a lot less than his teammates in these last few years. And this is his one shot at it. So, if he ends up leaving, I hope there's no ill will his way. If he ends up staying on a deal that's pretty rich, I think people should understand too that, it's hard. Put yourself where he's been. He's worked just as hard as all these guys. He's been a part of it. I'm sure in his heart, he might believe he's not the fifth best of those five forwards. I've never asked him that. I would never expect him to answer that. But, you got to be pretty proud to get as good at anything as he's got and work a lot pretty hard. So, this all goes back to, I wouldn't put my faith in him taking a hometown discount, nor do I think he should be expected to. And, as a result of this, I wouldn't be entirely surprised to see him leave. I don't want that to be construed as he's leaving, because I really think this is an open question. I think there's still a fair amount of discussion still to be had here before July 28th, when he becomes a free agent. But it's a tough call for him. I don't envy his position, because look, at the end result here is he's going to get a payday. But I think this could be an emotionally difficult period if the Leafs just aren't coming up to the level that he can expect from somewhere else.
So with the Leafs, obviously with the core four, Kyle Dubas has been made fun of, sort of for giving him all this money. And
you seem down, bud.
Sorry?
You still seem down.
I am. Dude, I've had 2 coffees like before, like within the last hour. And
the Zach Hyman stuff's killing him, Chris.
The Zach Hyman
He's
stuff
so
is
low energy.
It's here. Let me try to pick it up. Trust me, I'm going to ramp up throughout this question, because at some point Dubas has got to say the bank of Kyle is closed, and it's killing me that Hyman could potentially be the end of the bank of Kyle. A guy who I wrote about, I think in 2015, maybe 2016, I spoke to Sheldon Keefe and Kyle Dubas individually and asked them who the most underrated players were in the team.
Your Big J Journal hat was on that day.
It certainly was. And they both said Justin Hall on defense. Look how that's played out. And they both said Zach Hyman at forward. Look how that's played out. Sheldon Keefe could not beam about the guy enough. He's a rock star in all our video sessions. He does everything we ask him to do. He's a winger, but we make him take faceoffs on the penalty kill, which he's also part of. He's earned the right to be on the power play. He can drive his own line. He can be a complimentary player on his own line. He can be a finisher. He can go into the corner. They're not seriously going to draw the line at Zach Hyman, are they?
He's also 29 and has had some injuries. Look, I don't want to be in a position where I'm arguing that they shouldn't sign him, because it's not necessarily how I feel, but I just recognize how tough this is, because it's not a slam dunk. It's a slam dunk in your mind. It's just not in your heart. Sorry. It's not a slam dunk in your mind. And there's risk when he's going to be 29 next season. And if you're signing him for 6 years or 7 years or even 8 years, there's a whole ton of risk in doing that. And I think what they have to decide is how important is the culture piece here? Like if he does, aging curves are real. If you're not getting the kind of production out of him that you've seen the last couple of years, is he still valuable at those kind of numbers because of how he works and the way he conducts his life and the part he's played in this team? I mean, I actually see him a little bit as like Alex Killorn in Tampa, right? Tampa's solution with Killorn when they faced similar cap challenges was to give him a long-term deal at that, sort of middle of the road AAV. I mean, maybe there's a path there. I'm not saying the exact terms of that contract.
That contract's killing them, right?
Well, that's the thing. You're just trying to delay the pain when you do that. It's like me putting off my taxes. The problem is April 15th comes every year. I mean, I hate doing it, but like you can try to pay them a little bit less here, and it's okay for 1 year or 2 years. But then what happens if Sandin pops or Nick Robertson and you got to pay those guys? The cap just kills you death by 1,000 cuts. It's so hard to stay competitive over a long period of time. Some teams do it. It actually requires a certain degree of ruthlessness, I think, rather than locking into players on the wrong side of 30 and at bad cap numbers. It's easier to do that in Chicago where you at least have 3 banners that are providing a nice draft through your building, even if you got Brent Seabrook's deal on your cap ledger. Toronto's in a tough spot because they've lost all those guys I mentioned earlier, and they haven't yet won anything. And now potentially they could lose Zach Hyman. I think we have to open our minds to the possibility, though. Look, this is where they're going to get cap space this year, in my opinion. I believe, it's a little soon. I think it's possible they lose Alexander Kerfoot in the Seattle expansion process. I've heard that is someone that Seattle would like. Depending on what they do with their protection rules, there's a world where he's exposed. That's $3.5 million if it happens. Of course, they could trade him too if that isn't the case. You got Freddie Anderson's $5 million coming off the books. You need another goalie, but you're probably going to try to spend less than $5 million to replace that spot on the roster. So let's say for fun, you get another $3 million there. So you're up to $6.5. Hyman made what, $2.5 this year? So that's you're at about $9 million, and then that's not counting Simmons and who you're probably not bringing back, potentially Thornton. They're going to have like 11 to 12 million bucks if they don't bring Hyman back. But what happens if they pay him 5.5? You're down. The money. It's something bad. Okay, put it this way: if you're an emotional Leafs fan, I think there's going to be one move this offseason that's going to be hard to stomach. And I think the core 4 are there, but maybe bringing back Hyman, potentially trading Morgan Riley, although I don't think that's likely. Something like that might happen just to create the cap space to make a larger move, bringing somebody in.
And if you were to say if Brendan Shanahan and Kyle Dubas were taking truth serum and they were in this conversation right now, what would you say is their main goal? Like, and don't say re-sign Zach Hyman because that's obviously, but like in terms of main weakness that needs to be addressed on this team.
They need to solidify the goaltending position, and I think that they need to be better defensively, even still, a stouter blue line, which might seem sort of counterintuitive. Look, they cut down on all the key defensive metrics this year significantly. They certainly played better team defense, but just maybe I'm being influenced by some of the people I've talked to since the loss. People work for other teams. The Leafs are a constant source of interest, even around the league. Like, it's amazing how many people reach out and want to talk about, what are they going to do? This is what I would do. Amazingly, a lot of the hockey men are still saying they should trade Nylander. I'm sure that will stun you. I guess,
no way.
I should be clear too. I'm on Team Willie. If there's teams here, I think you can win with him. But that's been a common refrain. But I think that if they can bolster the blue line, that should be something to look at. And then they probably need a bit more flexibility up front. I think really the goal is, and this is really boring, but they got to make the team better. They have to make a team that they have to find a way, even with all the restrictions and with everybody getting a year older, to have more better players that in case next year they get to the playoffs, maybe face even better team than Montreal and face injuries, because injuries happen to everyone, that they can find their way through. So I don't think it's just one area, but I'm curious to see what they do with that other goaltending slot. I think that they address that potentially by trade rather than free agency, because the free agent crop of goalies isn't that sexy.
What about a guy like Dougie Hamilton, who's a UFA?
Can't rule him out. He's right in their wheelhouse, the kind of guy they'd like. Now, from what I've heard, I think the numbers in Carolina that they've talked are somewhere, like I think the team wants somewhere around $6 million-ish. I would imagine Dougie wants $8 million-ish. So if Toronto, even if it's not Dougie Hamilton, it would be really difficult to imagine Toronto committing $8 million to any individual player coming in while keeping everyone here. It makes them more top heavy. Perhaps that kind of move might fit, I guess, if you're getting rid of Morgan Riley's $5 million. This is pure spitball, and this is not like Kyle Dubas whispered any of this into my ear or anything.
No. Sorry, we should say that though, because this will get quote tweeted. Well,
I don't want to misrepresent the tone of the conversation here for anyone who's playing it back at 2 to 3 times speed and disseminating it online. But maybe they get that way. I just think they're going to have to be a bit bold, guys. And I'm not talking bold trade Mitch Marner because I really don't believe that's going to happen. But I don't think they actually could roll back more or less the same team, believe it or not. Even signing Zach Hyman, within the cap, they can make that work. I just don't believe that's the route they're going to go. I think that it's hard to sell that, and I think it's hard to sell even to the players inside the dressing room where there's got to be a little bit of doubt, right? Just the smallest kernel of doubt, like why can't we get this done? Like the questions we're having trouble answering, I think the guys on the ice can't answer them all either, about why they failed to get this across the goal line. And so, I think that they're going to have to change things up there and be a little bit more dynamic, probably less old guys in the bottom of the lineup.
I was just going to ask about that.
Well, so I have an observation and 2 questions. The observation is, boy, is it going to suck when Jake Gardiner hands the cup to Morgan Riley next year when Carolina wins it. To put a bow on the Zach Hyman thing, Josh Anderson last year gets $5.5 million per 7 years, $38.5 million. Do you think Hyman gets a higher AAV than that? Can't really get longer term than that, but do you think he gets the max term? And do you think the full contract is more than what Anderson got?
If he leaves Toronto, he's getting a higher AAV than that.
Wow. Higher than 5.5.
Yeah. If he stays, there's probably a world where he gives them that small, I'm saying small, we're talking a couple $100,000 a year, but I think that maybe they can keep him a little bit under that on a long-term deal. But that's the range. Honestly, and look, he's earned it. As a human, you should be happy for him.
I agree.
It's just hard because, you might be at the point where the team has to go like, you know what? We love the guy, but if we do that, it's just going to get in our way down the road.